All right, Shalom, Kal Halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakahak, Wadash, double honors unto my apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutation unto the hopeful elect, kings and priests who are out there laboring, bringing out this word in all sincerity and in all truth. Likewise, Shalom unto the sisters and little ones who are also in hopes of mercy of the 1/3 at the return of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, when he comes and redeem his elect from the four corners of the wind. I'm the brother Amawan from the Great Millstone Bridge. It's like you, Los Angeles, Southern California camp of the high desert region. Back here with another lesson through the spirit and power, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson here this morning at 8:25 a.m. 2026, January at that, January 14, 2026, another day closer to Esau's downfall and the uprising of our kingdom, which consists of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And we are very close. We are very close than we think. Showdown with Iran. We are very close than we think. Showdown with Iran. You know, Esau, he is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And one of the two ways his kingdom is gonna go out is by him crashing his dollar and ushering in that MOTB, and to bring in the missiles is this war of Armageddon, on the mountain of troops. Okay, and that end game is gonna be with Iran. Okay, Iran is one of the last strategic wars that they're trying to play out with, but that one, as we can see now, it's in the works, man. You know, you had a guy, one of the generals, I forgot his name. I'm going to play him in my one of my clips. He listed 7 countries that Babylon the Great has to go to war with, you know, to basically bring in what is that, a central bank. You know, what do you think the whole invasion of Venezuela was over? They didn't have a central bank. You know, they went in there, they took the resources, all right, and with hopes of establishing a central bank. And Venezuela was a nation that's a part of the BRIC countries. You know, BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Okay, and you got a list, a number of countries that's with the BRICS. So excuse me for my yawning, man. Out of nowhere, I'm just starting to yawn. This is actually my second time recording this. I probably did almost about 30 minutes, and then my recorder just stopped recording. I had to delete some memory, but it is what it is, you know. But Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. You know, we closer than we think. Showdown with Iran. You got major protests going on in Iran right now. They're telling you that when you go on like articles, they're saying 2,000 people, you know, has passed. But when you turn on CBS News, CNN, you know how much they saying people are dead, dropping dead? They saying 20,000, man. Because they want the people over here in America to be fully persuaded and going to war with Iran. What is Trump's whole slogan is right now? Make Iran great again. You know, like where did you ever make like that's the thing. America think it's just the police of the world. You know, they think they just the police of the world and they could just take over everything. But we know the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. But there's a certain line you can't cross, and Iran is going to be the last stronghold. But anyways, let me play this these slides and close the lesson out. Don't want to make it too long.
This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries.
General Wisely Clark is his name. This video is going all the way back to 2001, man. It's 2026 right now. Almost said 2025. We're in the year of 2026 right now. January 14th, 2026. And this man said this 25 years ago, you know?
in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
And that has happened. They went to war with Afghanistan for what was it, about 17, 21 years or something like that. And they lost. They took over the opium fields for a little bit, took their gold and all that, but they wasn't able to stay there. They got kicked out of Afghanistan. Okay? All right, they went to war with Libya. They got Gaddafi. They still at war in Syria. They still doing strikes in Somalia, and in Sudan, man. But the last strategic one is Iran, is Iran. That's the last one because Iran, has the resources. It don't have a central bank and all that.
I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? He said, sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
I'm not going to give you his name.
So go through the countries again.
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran. So when you look at Iran, you say, is it a replay? It's not exactly a replay, but here's the truth. This is a memo that describes...
Because you got to think about it. They just did. You even had that female rapper, Nicki Minaj, talk about they're killing Christians in Somalia. Trump, we need to do something in Somalia. They're killing Christians. Next thing you know, they doing strikes in Somalia. And that's to take over their resources, man. They want control of the Middle East, really. They want control of parts of Africa. They want control of the Middle East. They want control of Russia. That's why they like, no, we need Greenland. Russia can't have Greenland. They just warmongering everywhere. Let's get this next slide. Bodies everywhere. Bodies on top of bodies. Like Kendrick said in that what's that damn song, man? Mad City or some shit like that. Bodies on top of bodies. It's bodies on top of bodies. 12,000 dead in Iran. Report claims at least 12,000 dead in Iran. But when you turn on CNN out here in the Americas, they're saying over 20,000 people are protesting. The protesters are being shot. You even got this backed Babylon group, Mossad, that is paid for, that's causing these deaths. Okay, you even had the Iranians bring to the parliament, the international parliament. They brought Germany, UK, Britain, France, a few other NATO countries, and showed them protesters, showed them people shooting the protesters, man. A Mossad, Mossad, shooting the protesters, man. An inside job, to show that it's not us doing this. It's somebody from on the outside is causing all this shit, man. It's not us. And what did Trump say? If you guys shoot the protesters, we're gonna go in there. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And Iran is like, nah, nigga. You come up in here, we're gonna strike your military bases in Israel. We're gonna hit your nuclear faculties and all that. That's what we gonna do. So hey, this shit, hey man, this thing is getting closer, man. It ain't dying down. It ain't no, it's getting closer and closer and closer because Iran is the last go. Romans chapter 13 verse 11, that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. And a lot of 2/3 of our people, they sleep as hell. They too damn busy worried about Renee Good, being shot in the face by an ICE agent and talking about we need to stand with Renee. We need to go against these Republicans, fighting a fight that's not theirs. Meanwhile, Trump is on a whole other side of the world trying to take over another country. He's using women like the death of Renee Good to further enslave you. Let your ass buck up against these ICE agents. Then we're gonna march on you. And that's exactly what they're doing, going door to door, you know? And you Jakes just don't understand, man. A lot of our people don't really understand what the hell is going on, especially dealing with Iran. They don't know what the hell is going on. They think that people is really just uprising against the government. No. It's a whole outside nation that got their hand in this. Iranian girl removes her hijab to protest against her Islamic government in Iran. This is considered death penalty in Iran. Like who's behind all this? You know? Trump is pushing the whole we're gonna make you free, we're gonna make you great again. Never in Iran did they have women walking without their hijabs on, man. They want to give them freedom and all this. No. How these other nations rule a woman is more in the ancient style, more in the ancient world type style. They got their heads covered. Women are not allowed to speak, really yell in public. You know what I'm saying? You remember the black woman went out there to, I think it was Saudi Arabia. She started yelling, and they locked her ass up for what was it? Um, it was something similar to like how a law is in America, but way too different. But it's like basically disturbing the peace, not disturbing the peace, but like damn, what is it? It's basically like when you're being a nuisance within a society. That's what how they treated you in Iran. If you a woman and you being loud and shit, yelling, twerking and all that, nah, they taking your ass to the you might get put to death, you know? They taking your ass to the cell, man. So who's doing all this? Shit is changing. There's more of them. 2 freedom. This is the cup being passed to these other nations, man, making them drunk. America is making these other nations drunk by its philosophies, by its ways, by the ways of America. Women can be equal as men. You're free. You don't have to listen to men. That's a doctrine and wine. That's that taka vodka of America, man. That shit have you stumbling and fumbling, hungover, near death experiences, will die. You know? That's what these other nations are starting to drink on. And it has caused them to stagger therein. Let's get this other clip. $15,000 victims, which that's like I said, they talking about 20,000. This was January 13th. They said thousands of Iranians protests took to the streets of Tehran tonight of January 13, 2026, on the 18th day of the revolution. There has been more than 12,000 people killed in only 2 days, man. 130-hour internet blackout, and they're still fighting for their freedom. Internet blackouts, phone communications cut out. You know, can't make calls, can't really voice or record and upload it up to these broadcast channels and show what's really going on. What some of them are. And it's being showed that you got paid protesters shooting protesters, man. You know, it's just a big shit show. I low-key want to read some of these comments. President Trump said he's coming. Don't give up. Iran, United States praying. Shit is crazy. We Iranians remember those who stood with us when it mattered most, and we will never forget those who turned away. Thank you for standing with us. Keep in mind, if you get intervention from the United States, it's the United States that are helping, not Trump. He gets no whatever. Praying for Iran and all this shit. America is doing all this, man, with these backed agents. Okay, because they want to destabilize the country. They want a central bank in that country. They want they want the resources, the raw elements and all that, man. Same thing that's happening out there is happening over here in the Americas, man. Matter of fact, let me get a quick precept real quick because I've been a little bit winded with this. Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. The Lord is visiting the world which he have made. You know? Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, we see earthquakes, all right, and we see upwards of the people in the world. We see the ring of fire getting more unstable. You know, records it's being projected that we're in for a big one. We see earthquakes everywhere all the time. There's an earthquake, and we seeing upwards of the people here in the Americas. Everybody's complaining about the food prices. They voicing their opinion on TikTok. They going to the streets about this woman, Renee Good, for being shot by this ICE agent, you know. And you don't even hear about the Keith Porter Jr. that was shot on New Year's Eve, going into New Year's Day. Judite that was shot. You don't hear shit about him, but you do hear about this woman, Renee Good, you know. A whole damn GoFundMe is at $1.5 million. But you don't hear shit about Keith Porter Jr., you know? But hey, it is what it is. But there's upwards of the people in the world. You just had that one dude that drove that fucking U-Haul truck in LA. What city was that in? Was that in Long Beach? I'm not sure if it was in Long Beach or one of these cities out here in California. They drove a whole damn U-Haul into the protesters and Iranian protests, and they started whooping his ass, man. You know, police was having trouble taking him in back to the paddy wagon, man. They beating his ass with Iranian flags. You know, that's where we at with it, man. People are fucking pissed off, man. That shit looked like a damn third world country how they was whooping his ass, man. And really, America is a third world country, man. How Trump Got all these ICE agents walking around with straps and busting people windows, taking you out the whip, you know? That's what's going on right now. Upwards of the people. Take ICE out of our country. Every time you go outside, it's a car. You know, they got they car say fuck ICE on it. You know, it's upwards of the people in the world right now, man. People are upset. People are mad. People pissed off. People don't want to go to work. You know, you go online and it just people just talking about the crisis going on. Insurance is too high. My Medicare is too high. Car parts is too high. My rent is too damn high. I'm working too much for nothing. People are voicing their opinion on the TikTok. And they can't do it out there in Iran because why? The communication is cut off. Blackouts. Then shalt thou world understand, verse 4, that the Most High spake of those times from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. The end is manifest. We see the end right before our eyes right now. You don't have to look any further. You see Trump, you know, you see him going crazy, man. You see the digital ID, you see the MOTB, you see the WW3 happening. It ain't far-fetched to know what time you are, to know what time you're in, unless you just, Lord got you in a deep sleep.
To all Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers, look, 1 death is too much, but I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today. And I say make Iran great again. You know, it was a great country until these monsters came in and took it over. To all Iranian patriots,
It's not going to go good for America invading Iran. You can't just go up in there and start shooting, taking out Iranian bases. You can't just do that. And they're thinking about, I was reading the article before, like right here. You can't just go up inside of Iran and just start, trying to take some shit out. They're going to they're going to retaliate against Israel. And that's going to further ignite this thing. Iran warns of retaliations if Trump strikes. U.S. withdraws some personnel from regional bases. So they already got it in their mind, shit, we might just strike them. Trump is saying, so let's remove some of our personnel from our main bases. That way we don't take a extreme hit. They already in preparation of this thing, man. Flames engulf cars following unrest sparked by dire economic conditions in a place given as Esfahan, Iran, January 9th in this screen grab from Iran state media broadcast footage. Summary: U.S. withdrawing some personnel from bases in the Middle East as precaution, official says. Israeli assessment sees U.S. intervening, timing and scope unclear. Western official: Iranian security apparatus remains in control. The protests have posed biggest challenges to authorities in years. Check that out. So we don't know when it's gonna happen. We don't know when, but it's gonna be at a time when no one is expecting it. You know. Let me get this real quick. Like what was his name? The general that we just had in the first clip. He talked about Iran is the last stronghold. Revelation chapter 11 verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. You had World War II pass. You had World War I pass, which is the three woes. And the last woe is the third woe that cometh quickly, World War III, which will be between Iran and America, or you could say Israel and Iran, but backed by America. And who do you think is going to back Iran? You got Russia, China. That's how it's going to go down in the Middle East, man. This thing is close, man. You know, ain't no time to lighten up, tighten up. I mean, it is a time to tighten up, Slovakia. Ain't no time to lighten up, man.
Breaking news in Iran, and the media is not covering this. Right now, Iran is facing one of the most volatile moments in years, and getting information out of the country is becoming harder and harder by the hour. According to multiple international outlets and eyewitnesses, messages shared with groups like Iran International, nationwide protests are spreading while the government has imposed widespread internet shutdowns and communication blackouts. People inside Iran say connections are constantly dropping, satellite internet links like Starlink are being targeted, and entire neighborhoods are effectively being cut off from the outside world. State television is even warning parents not to let their children leave home, saying they can't complain if something happens, which tells you how tense the situation has become. Funerals are reportedly turning into protests, security forces are stretched across multiple provinces, and hospitals are receiving far more casualties than they can handle. Though exact numbers are difficult to independently verify right now, what makes this moment different is the scale. Protests aren't limited to one city or one group, but are appearing across residential areas, ethnic regions, and major population centers at the same time. Even with limited visibility, one thing is clear: Iran is experiencing a major international crisis, and the world is only seeing fragments of what's really happening. Patrick Bet-David said the casualties are in the thousands, from 450 to 4,000. So more information is coming out. There are independent creators. Shout out to you guys for exposing what's going on in Iran right now to the rest of the world. Appreciate you.
So it's, hey man, this thing is going down, man. This thing is going down. It appears that the final end time showdown with Iran is upon us. The fall of the tyrannical regime in Iran will be one of the most important geopolitical stories of the past geopolitical stories of the past 50 years. It will totally transform the entire Middle East. But Ayatollah Khamenei and his minions will not go down without a fight. Several days ago, I warned that the reason why the regime in Iran had shut down internet access was because it was planning to use extreme violence against the protesters. Of course, that is precisely what has transpired. President Trump told Iran that what the U.S. would do if that happened. And now we have learned that he is being briefed on military options. When Trump hits Iran, the Iranians will strike back by targeting U.S. bases in Israel cities. Once Iranian missiles are fired at Israeli cities, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not hesitate to unleash full force of the IDF on the Iranians. This is it, my friends. Like I said, this is it. You know, this is it. You know, I don't know what you Jakes is thinking, but hey, you need to repent. Because this is going to be the war to end all wars. This is going to turn America into a lake of fire. Because it's going to spread. We're literally watching history in the making. This is the moment that will determine whether the regime in Iran stands or falls. The protests in Iran have now been going on for over 2 weeks. And that is being estimated that somewhere around 2 million Iranians are participating. Estimates are that somehow between 1.5 and 2 million protesters are now on the streets of Iran in what is now being called a revolution. Way worse than a revolution in 1979, back in the Islamic Revolution, right? As the region appears to be on the brink of collapsing. And back in 1979, they tried it back in 1979 of overthrowing the province. But it didn't happen. As the region appears to be on the brink of collapsing, one huge telltale sign is that a mosque in Tehran was burned to the ground. Iranians are also burning the region's flag and openly defying brutal Sharia law. On Friday, President Trump once again warned the regime in Iran not to kill protesters. Get to the point. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts, he said at the White House. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. Of course, there was no way that the nuts running Iran were going to show resistance. According to the human rights activist news agency, the death toll in Iran has now reached at least 538. And like I said, they're talking about 20,000 bodies. Okay? Because this number is increasing by the day. This article was put out on the 11th. We're in the 14th now. And those death tolls are rising. Other reports are indicating that the death toll is much, much larger. Two eyewitnesses that present in the Karasak are claiming that they saw over 400 dead bodies in the city alone. Why isn't the Western media talking about reports such as this? Nah, they're talking about it now. Because they want to get the people mind persuaded. Okay? Over here in America. They want to take off that cloud, that remove that dark cloud over these people's mind and show them, look what they're doing over here. We need to move them. Because this is the Western media is the wand, okay, to put magic on people for them to believe in a certain narrative. According to Iran International, it is estimated that at least 2,000 protesters have been slaughtered in just the last 48 hours. Crazy, man. It says this should be on front page news all over the United States, but instead, the corporate media is obsessed with talking about Renee Nicole Good. Meanwhile, morgues are literally overflowing with bodies in major cities all over Iran. Shit it's going down, man. It's going down. Iran is looking at freedom perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help President Donald J. Trump. In a separate post on social media, the U.S. State Department warned that President Trump is not bluffing. The State Department separately warned, do not play games with President Trump. When he says he'll do something, he means it. I don't know what the Iranians were thinking. President Trump bombed Iran before, and now it appears that he is going to do it again. And that's going to come with actions, man. You know? They not scared. They will bomb the shit out of Israeli cities and shit like that. In fact, New York Times and Wall Street Journal are both telling us that the President Trump has already been briefed on military options in Iran. Iran is being talked about, man. I remember a time this wasn't it. They was talking about Iraq, worried about Iraq and shit like that. But Iran, this is the last. This is it with Iran. You know, I'm not gonna read all this just for the sake of time. Don't want it too drawn out. You brothers really get the point, man. It's going down. Let's see if it's some more key points. After reportedly warning Iran, there is no way that Trump is going to let them get away with slaughtering thousands of protesters without responding. Needless to say, the regime in Iran will react to any attack very strongly. In fact, Iran's parliament speaker is suggesting that Iran may even take preventative actions. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Qualibif issued a televised warning declaring, in the event of an attack on Iran, both the occupied territory and all American military centers, bases, and ships in the region will be our legitimate targets. We do not consider ourselves limited to reacting after the actions and will act based on any objective signs of a threat. His remarks prompt lawmakers to chant "Death to America" on the parliament floor, highlighting escalating hostility toward the U.S. amid the crisis. When Qualibif, whatever his name is, used the term occupied territory, he's referring to Israel. Without a doubt, a U.S. attack would prompt Iranian missile strikes on Israeli cities, and it's being reported that Iran's underground missile faculties have been placed on exceptional standby. Check that out, man. So what will the Israelis do if Iran start firing missiles at them? It will be as if someone had just thrown a big, juicy fastball right over their heart of home plate, and there will be no holding back this time. For the moment, the IDF says that it is monitoring developments in Iran. Remember, that dome ain't going. That Iron Dome. You know what I'm saying? That's over Israel. It was getting penetrated. When they struck Israeli cities, it showed the weakness inside of that Iron Dome. So this time it's going to overwhelm that Iron Dome more than it did last time. The events that are currently unfolding in the Middle East are quite dramatic, but they shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. We are living in the end times, and we were warned that these things were coming. Scriptures. But most of the population is so confused about what is going on in our world right now. World War III is here, and the deaths and destruction that we'll soon witness will shock the entire planet. This thing is, man, that just gave chill to my bones. You know, this thing is close, man. We are very close. Our, that's that, bear with me. Get this last scripture. Where is that at? Because the war to end all wars is going to be in the Middle East. I can read this real quick. This is Revelation chapter 16 and 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the waters thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And the river Euphrates been dried up. Okay? And you got kings prepared, all right, to go inside of Iran. Okay? Because that's where the Euphrates River is located, in Iraq. Okay? Which links on to Iran. Okay? And that's where the kings of the earth are gathering themselves right now. That's where Trump looks to take over, you know, the last footstool. Where's the scripture at, man? Let's type in. Let me just type in blood. Matter of fact, Armageddon. I'm trying to spell Armageddon. How the hell you spell Armageddon? I know how to spell the Armageddon in the Hebrew, but damn, Armageddon. Armageddon. Let me just keep looking. Salakia, man. I ain't brought this one out in a minute. Maybe it's Revelation 16. Let me check. We just read that, but here it is. Duh. I was in the chapter. It was right here. I just read it. It just had to go down a little bit more. But this is Revelation chapter 16. Salakia verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. You don't know when a thief is coming. A thief is plotting. A thief been watching you when you go to work. You know, take off from work, take the kids to school. That's how Yahweh Shah is watching the whole earth right now as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And you have the elect men watching. And those men and sisters and those that are part of the 1/3, the hopeful elect, they're blessed because they're watching. and we're keeping our garments unspotted from the world. You know, we acknowledge the times that we're in. Okay? And he gathered them together in a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Okay? Salakia, Armageddon. But in the Hebrew it's called Armageddon, which means mountain of troops. Let's look it up. Armageddon, which that's not really what it means. See, over the years, Blue Letter has just been changing shit, man. That's not really what the hill or city of Megiddo. Nah, Armageddon means mountain of troops. Place of crowds. To gather in troops. We go to the root word here, Gadad. It says point to gather in troops or crowds. You know, so that's where we at with it, man. You know, this is where we at. This is gonna be the war to end all wars. Okay. So let me read this last verse 17 a little bit down more. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great, which represents the missiles. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. And the city of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemed the Most High because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. This hail is talking about the missiles. All right, this talent is talking about the missiles. All right. Babylon is that city that's in remembrance with the Most High and his son. And they're going to be rewarded for all the abominations that they have done. All the enslaving. Okay. Because this is for our controversy. The Lord got with the nations, man. The Lord got a controversy with these nations. You know, because how they have treated us. That's why he bringing them to this the valley of troops, Armageddon, where he's gonna plead his cause with them. And they all gonna try to fight him, and they're gonna be broken without him, man. You know? So with that, call halal Yahweh Shimi Awashai Bahashim Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutation unto the hopeful elect. And to the next one, I say shalom.